Hello everyone, I'm Tammy Barboza of Encompass Community Supports, and welcome to our new show called CommYOUnity, where we will provide information for you and your loved ones to help navigate the sometimes unpredictable road we call life. Today's guest is Executive Director of Encompass Community Supports, Jim LaGraff. Jim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tammy.
You're very welcome. So let's begin with Encompass Community Supports. How would you describe our agency for someone who knows nothing about it?
Well, Encompass Community Supports is a unique organization in Virginia. Many people in our community know us as Rappahannock Rapid Community Services. We recently have gone through a name change, which we believe is more reflective of the services and supports we provide to our community. When I say Encompass is unique, it's unique in its role as we are what's called the Community Services Board. We serve a 5-county area: Culpeper, Fauquier, Orange, Madison, and Rappahannock counties. And in the role of the Community Services Board, we provide behavioral health supports. And when we talk about behavioral health, we're talking about people who have a mental illness or a substance use disorder, as well as supports for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. What makes us unique as an organization is that we're also the area agency on aging for the same 5-county area. So as the area agency on aging, we're providing supports to older adults in our community, 60 years of age and older, to really help them with stuff like social isolation, making sure that their health and safety needs are being met. And as we are the only organization in Virginia that is both a community service board and an area agency on aging. And what truly makes us unique as an organization is that we are also an infant and toddler connection, where we provide supports to very young children, children who might be missing developmental milestones. Maybe they're not crawling or speaking, we're at the age we would hope that they would be doing so. And so we have clinicians and therapists who can help that child catch up before they enter school. And we're also a regional housing authority, where we help individuals with low income or special needs receive the housing supports that they might need.
Thanks, Jim. So as our viewers can probably glean by now, it's a lot. Our agency covers a lot of ground. It's a huge umbrella. Maybe some folks out there are curious to know how old our agency is and how and why it came about to begin with.
Sure. So our organization just will celebrate our 51st anniversary. We had a large 50th anniversary celebration last October here in Culpeper. Our organization, what really makes us unique and different too, is that we were actually founded and chartered by the acts of government of the 5 counties that we support. So our 5 counties got together and created us as an organization to be able to provide those services and supports that we mentioned earlier.
And again, those 5 counties are Culpeper, Fauquier, Madison, Orange, and Rappahannock counties.
Correct. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Is that a typical geographic breadth and width of a community services agency? Are we considered small, large for the state?
Well, we're considered medium-sized according to the state. So there are 40 community service boards in Virginia. There are 26 area agencies on aging. So when community service boards, which were created by the Code of Virginia in an act of our legislature 51 years ago, they divided the Commonwealth into 40 geographic regions. A lot of that was based on the population at that point in time. So while we serve a large geographic area, we are still smaller in total population because of some of the rural nature of the communities that we support. Some of our larger, more metropolitan areas, their community service boards are either just city-specific or county-specific.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. And folks, the name of this new show is called CommYOUnity, with the word "you" in all caps right in the middle, as you see on your screen. The reason for that is because our hope is for you to gather information and resources that are valuable for you and those that are within your life. Jim, how may folks contact our organization, and what may they expect when they do so?
Sure. So we have several different ways that we hope people will reach out to us to get the help and the support they might need. The first and easiest is just to give us a call. 540-825-3100. When you call, what will happen is the person answering the phone is going to ask you a couple basic questions. Are you looking for help for an adult? Are you looking for help for a child? Or looking for help for an older adult? And that just allows us to make sure the right person who can answer your questions and get you the right help that you need is the person that you're directly contacted with. If you're not comfortable calling, or you're not sure, or maybe it's off hours, you can go to our website, encompasscommunitysupports.org. There is a Contact Us tab there. Click the button. There's some basic information that you can fill out. That form will get sent in immediately and get routed to a member of our team who can reach out to you. The other thing that I would always recommend to people as well, again, it's not necessarily the best way to contact us, but it is a very good way to understand what is going on and what is happening with our organization, is to check us on Facebook. You can go to Facebook, all the events that we are involved with, the different services and supports you will see are constantly being updated there. And again, like I said, I wouldn't leave information on our Facebook page as opposed, but it is a good way that you might see that an event is happening. You can see us at one of our many community events or something along those lines and make a contact, and we can get help to you as well.
And we have more than 2,000 followers on our Facebook page, which is wonderful. And the screen will show the Facebook page address for you. Jim, our agency, just from your description of the large umbrella of our programs and services, for someone who knows nothing about our agency, what are some of the main areas that you would relay?
Okay. So as we said, our agency has really 4 key areas of support that we focus on. The first one is behavioral health services. And in behavioral health, that's really people who are in recovery from mental illness, as well as people who are in recovery from a substance use disorder. And we have a wide variety of programs and supports and services along those lines. So wherever you are in that journey, we have a program or a support that can help you at that point in time. We have supports for individuals, adults primarily, with an intellectual or developmental disability. And again, in that area, we're really looking at how can we help that individual continue to develop the skills and supports to live as independently as possible in our community, as well as to develop vocational skills, hopefully to lead to employment. We have our aging services and supports, which again, as we said, are services to older adults. And that really is focused on how can we help people age in place. How can we help older adults maintain the skills that they have to stay in their home, as well as lots of different social and recreational activities for older adults. And then the other main area that we have is our infant and toddler connection program, where we're looking at very young children. Those are our main service areas. But then we also have lots of other support areas. As we said, we have a very large housing program. And our housing program really helps individuals maybe with a disability or individuals with lower income find and maintain stable housing in our community, because we know that is so critical for people to be successful. Lastly, we have a transportation department. So we know that it can be very difficult because of the rural nature of our community. Sometimes transportation can be very challenging. Give us a call. We have transportation services that we provide, but we also have contact with lots of other voluntary transportation providers in our community to really help you get to those programs and supports that you might need.
Thank you. And folks, in future shows, we're actually going to have a deeper dive into many of these different areas. We'll have experts within our particular divisions talk to you about some of the more specific programs and services. For example, within our aging services, now called Community Connections for older adults, within our behavioral health division, within our transportation division, etc. Jim, you alluded to the fact that our name has changed. And we changed our name July 1 of this year, 2023, from Rappahannock-Rapidan Community Services to Encompass Community Supports. There are many people out there wondering why we did that.
Sure. And for us, I think the new name Encompass Community Supports really was very much reflective on the total volume and number of supports and services that we offer in our community. And we really went about a very strategic process as we were looking at our name change. As our organization was hitting its 50th anniversary last year, one of the items that we really wanted to start preparing better for was, what is our organization going to be in the future? And as we started looking at what we do and how we do it, one of the things that we really wanted to make sure that we strongly emphasized with our community is we were a place for everybody. And as we started thinking about the old name Rappahannock Rapid and Community Services, we went about and did some surveys of community members. I think we sent out about 1,500 surveys. We invited about 100 people in our community to participate in focus groups. And then we even did lots of targeted interviews with community leaders and stakeholders. And one of the things that we heard over and over again was that the name of the organization can be confusing for people. We do live in the Rappahannock Rapid District, and we do work in that area. But there are other organizations with very similar names to ours, so that was very confusing for people. Additionally, over the years, as we have grown as an organization and as we have expanded supports and services into new areas, people were not as familiar. They associated the old name Rappahannock Rapid and Community Services with some of the core services we originally did, and didn't realize how much we had expanded in an organization to provide lots of other supports and services. And lastly, while we were really blessed to be an organization that has been around 51 years, one of the things that we were very conscious of was some of the associations with the old name. And we do know for many people, the largest barrier for people calling us is stigma and hesitancy. And we really wanted to convey with our new name the sense of welcomingness, and Encompass, I believe, very strongly does enforce that. So with Encompass Community Supports, we're really hopeful with the new name and the tone that we're trying to set with the new name, that people will feel more comfortable to call us, to reach out, and ask for help and support from us.
And there are less letters with our new name. So from a branding standpoint, it's very beneficial, says the communications person. Jim, how does our agency, Encompass Community Supports, operate financially? Are we a nonprofit? Do we have government support? Is it a hybrid?
So we are Encompass Community Supports is a private 501c3, which is a nonprofit organization. But community service boards are a little unique in the fact that while we are a private nonprofit organization, we are providing, by the Code of Virginia, core governmental services. So what makes that a little bit different is we are governed by a board of directors, but our board of directors is actually appointed by the 5 county governments that we represent. So we have 3 board members from each of our 5 counties. I think it's a little bit of a unique situation, but I also believe it is very beneficial to us as an organization because it keeps us very connected to what is happening in our community and what are the needs of our community. And so again, while we're a private company, we are still very connected and governed by local government. Our funding for our programs and services comes from a combination of sources. We do receive some state funding. We receive some federal funds. We receive some local funds from our local county governments. But most of our money, frankly, actually just comes from Medicaid and service provisions that we provide.
Thank you. So many different sources, many pieces of that pie from a financial standpoint.
Absolutely.
If I may get a bit personal with you, with Jim, why did you choose to be the executive director of such an agency as Encompass Community Supports? How long have you been with this agency? And part B, what are some of the challenges that you see as an ED for this agency, and what are some of the benefits?
So I've been the executive director here now for about 5.5 years. I'm an upstate New Yorker by birth and have kind of worked my way to this area. I think
You're a Syracuse fan.
I am. I'm a Syracuse fan. Yes. So, what really drew me to this organization? Prior to being here, I was working in central Pennsylvania, and I was running a behavioral health organization in that area. And through a variety of reasons, that organization was absorbed into a much larger organization. And I found myself in a role where I was overseeing services in multiple states in the District of Columbia. And in doing that, what I found is I really lost a lot of connection to the local community and really missed that. And so when I was informed of the position down here, that was really one of the main draws, and which I honestly believe is one of the great benefits about being within this organization. We are so connected to our community. We get to see the benefits of what we do every day. And so that really was a key for me, was I was really missing in my last role that local connection, which we absolutely have within this organization. I think the real challenge for us and for me in this new role is I was here not quite 2 years when the pandemic broke out. So as we were starting to learn about what was happening in our community, really starting to learn about the organization, starting to set direction for the organization for the future, the pandemic happened. And we as an organization, our services are critical services to our community. So for the most part, we never stopped providing services. Our staff, we never closed programs. We might have reconfigured programs where it was no longer safe or viable to have multiple people meeting at a particular time together. So we had to restructure and pivot a little bit.
If I may ask you to repeat that, not one program closed during the pandemic.
That is correct. It is also,
Amazing.
I think, one of the things that I am most proud of is that during the pandemic, not only did our services never stop, but for the employees of our organization, and we're about 400 employees at this point in time, nobody was laid off. Nobody within our organization ever had to worry that, a service would close and they were going to be out of work during that time period. And so I think as we are now coming through the pandemic and coming out the back end, and we are returning, our services have returned to kind of pre-pandemic. I say we returned to pre-pandemic, but that's really not true. Because during the pandemic, the 3 years of the pandemic, our organization grew by almost 50%. So we really have...
Did you say 50, excuse me, 50%?
Yes. Yeah, we've grown about 50% in the last little over 3 years. And so we've actually come out of the pandemic being able to provide more supports to the members of our community who might need it than we did actually before the pandemic.
Wow, that is a lot to take in. What has surprised you the most about our community as a whole?
What has surprised me most coming here has been how much this community will come together for the right cause. And it has been by far one of the most enjoyable aspects of my role here. That I feel very comfortable that if there is a need in our community, that I can talk to local government, local foundations, other stakeholders in our community, and in a very short period of time, we can come together and we can find the money or the resources to make something like that happen. I think a really good example of that was a few years ago, I was approached by one of the members of law enforcement in our community. And historically, when a member of our community is having a behavioral health crisis, they are the first responders to that scene. And I was approached by one of our law enforcement leaders because he was concerned that his team, when they were responding to a behavioral health crisis, really didn't have the skills and knowledge to best help that member in our community. And he relayed a very tragic story of a gentleman that they responded who ended up taking his own life. And he was convinced that if there was a better way to respond, someone who had different training than law enforcement, that would have had a much better outcome. And I remember within the course of about 2 weeks, when working with our law enforcement partners, working with some local foundations, we were able to implement a program where now, and it's strongest in the town of Culpeper here, where we have staff who actually ride along with law enforcement and help and intervene to a member of our community who is in crisis. And by doing that, we have seen a great reduction in the need for law enforcement to get involved with people, and we're able to get people help and support that they need. And so I think that's what is most impressed me with our community, is that a program or a service, if it's a really good idea, this community will come together, they will find the resources, and they can make it happen.
In the same vein of, if there's a will, there's a way.
Absolutely.
Yes. Speaking of crises and the overall theme of suicide awareness and prevention, we are just coming off of a signature event. We meaning our agency, along with approximately 30 resource community exhibitors and guest speakers and breakout sessions. The name of that event was Stamping Out Suicide. And Jim, I think that you'll agree with me that it was a huge success.
Absolutely. It was, I think, a tremendous opportunity for us to engage with the community, for community members to be able to visit different vendors and see different resources and exhibits. But most importantly, I think, again, as I said earlier, we as a community have to really work very, very hard to overcome the stigma associated with people who are struggling with mental health, and making sure that people are comfortable reaching out. And I think the Stamping Out Suicide event was an excellent opportunity for our whole community to start that process.
Will it be an annual event?
Absolutely. It is our intentions to have this as an annual event every year.
More specifically, every September, correct?
Correct.
As it is Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month from a national perspective. And Jim, if you could remind our viewers, how may they reach our agency, Encompass Community Supports?
Okay. So the easiest way is to give us a call, 540-825-3100. Someone will answer and make sure you get the right help and support that you are looking for. You can always go to our website. On our website, click the Contact Us button, and an email will be instantly sent that will get routed to the right person who will reach out to you. And again, I always encourage people, like us on Facebook. There are always events going on. If you're just curious and you're looking for some basic information, we are very active in local community events. Come out, we will have representatives there. Just talk to somebody.
Absolutely. If you're unsure whether you yourself or a loved one of yours could benefit from one of our programs and services, simply give us a call, and we'll be happy to speak with you. Again, as I said at the beginning, folks, this will be an ongoing show. We will have a multitude of experts in particular fields within our entire agency. For example, behavioral health and aging services, which is now known as Community Connections for Older Adults, children's and infant services, housing, and many more areas. So we hope that you've enjoyed our first show of CommYOUnity. And Jim, I want to thank you so much as our Executive Director for giving our viewers an overall view of our agency, kind of a bird's eye view.
Thank you, Tammy. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you, and thank you most importantly for watching our first show of CommYOUnity by Encompass Community Supports. Again, our contact information is on the screen. Please do not hesitate to reach out, and we will be absolutely happy to speak with you or a loved one. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'm Tammy Barboza, and I will see you next time.